On behalf of your host, Steve D, this is Bruce Buffer saying thank you for tuning in to Xtreme Lyfe. And now, this is the moment Xtreme Lyfe fans around the world have been waiting for. It's time!
Hey everybody, this is Steve D. I am here at Xtreme Lyfe Podcast. Today I am joined by pro MMA fighter, pro MMA athlete, Kelly Skittles Clayton. I gotta ask, and I hate to hit you with this off the bat, the first damn question I ask, where did you get the nickname Skittles? And you got the shirt on too. Look at you.
I know. I am fully representing. So I had actually a different nickname when I was an amateur fighter. A couple of different nicknames. So teammates were calling me Killer Kelly. I had another teammate that called me the Zombie. And then Killer Kelly kind of stuck for a little while, but I really liked eating the candy Skittles. That's really how it all started. I was always like the weight cuts were always. I've never
fun, right? Fun was the word you were looking for. Yeah. Really, really fun.
Zero fun. You have to be really disciplined. So I was always rewarding myself with Skittles. So after weigh-ins, I literally had a pack of Skittles I was eating all the time. My brother was just recently visiting and I was like eating Skittles. He's like, wow, you really do like Skittles. And I said, yes, I really do.
You really live the name.
I really live the name. But I also like, it goes deeper than that. My family's colorful. So, it represents my family too. So I like being able to wear the rainbow. And so I think of my family when
it's awesome. Yeah. It represents the family, represents, a little bit about you. It's like it's a lifestyle, right? Skittles is a lifestyle. It's not just a, nickname.
What really sealed it for me was I fought at a family friendly event and all the little kids after the fight were running up to me saying, Skittles, Skittles, can I take a picture with you? And after that, I was sold because I was actually really resistant to the name at first. I said, no, that's too cute. I'm not cute.
You don't want to be cute and cuddly, right?
Right. Right. But after that, I was like, yes, I love it. And so I'm actually a coach for Muay Thai too, kids Muay Thai. And so all the little kids call me Coach Skittles. So
that's cute. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. No, so you just took it and embraced it. And, now it's just you. I mean, I don't think you could get rid of it now because it's pretty much stuck on there.
It is stuck. Everyone calls me Skittles. The parents are like, who's Skittles? We have another coach that the kids call Corn Dog. And then there's some kids that are called Chicken Nuggets. Anyway, we're all food.
All right. So you're trying to represent all the food groups and everything. And that's great. No, I love it. I always, whenever somebody has an interesting, and I usually ask about all nicknames for the most part, because there's a whole bunch that come from whole bunch of different places. And there's always stories attached to them. There's not just, I just liked it and here it was, first of all, I don't think anybody should ever name themselves. It usually comes with other people, give you the nickname, right? My friend, Tony Ricci, I don't know if you know Tony, but Tony's he's like probably one of the most brilliant people I know. He's got a couple doctorates, couple masters, but he's a sports guy, a sports psychologist and all that stuff. And, he was named by, who was it? Can't think of the name now. Stitch Duran. He was named by Stitch Duran, Scarecrow, because he's just got the, but that stuck. Tony Scarecrow Ricci, which, because he's, I guess the Scarecrow was always looking for a brain. He's like, what are you, a brain? He's like, you're a scarecrow. Right? He told me the story. I was like, I love it. That's great. And to get your name from Stitch Duran, which is like even more insane. So,
yeah,
it's great.
That's great. My coach of 6 years, he passed away in 2019. But I was like, Coach, I really want you to give me a nickname, not my teammates. And him at the time, he said lumberjack, and I was like, hell no.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Skittles has a better ring to it. Kelly, let's try it. Kelly Lumberjack Clayton.
I know, it's so awful. It's actually my fiance who actually said you should go by Skittles, and then my other coach, he just kind of forced it, and then I decided I liked it. So,
all right. So, and that's cool too. You know, you something that you were like, I don't know if I like this. You know, it's not something I'm really looking for. And then all of a sudden you just kind of like, I think you get beaten into submission. It's like, I just got to go with it.
Yeah. And it's quite perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. I like it. That's what I said. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's perfect. I love it. So I have to ask about it. I have to figure out how does she just eat a lot of Skittles? I don't know. What's the deal?
I'm addicted.
So, you know, I mean, you're on a kind of a streak right now. I mean, I think you won your last 3 fights.
I did.
You know, I know one was an exhibition at Invicta FC, which is great. I mean, a lot of people want to get to Invicta FC, and you got there, and hopefully you'll be back up on that stage too in Invicta. That's what I'd like to see. But you know, as I'm looking through your record, and I'm just going to go into this. You know, your amateur career, and I want to ask. I mean, how have you like seen yourself progress over the years of training and over the years of fighting? You know, because it seems like most of your wins as an amateur were either punches, TKO. You had a lot of that type of wins going on. Now your wins in, you know, you have your last 2 out of your last 3 wins have been to chokes, due to chokes, right? So, you know, is that something you've kind of gotten a lot better at, kind of started training a little more, and now you found a groove with it, and you're just finding people in those positions and you're able to execute those moves?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And it really has been a progression. And when I was an amateur, I didn't even really, when I first started fighting, it was always something that I had wanted to do, but I wasn't really sure if I was going to be good at it. I just kind of felt like compelled to do it for the life experience, kind of like Fight Club, where how do you really know yourself if you've never been in a fight? And so it was more like proving to myself what I really thought I was. So when I was fighting, it was all about just getting in there and fighting. I never thought I was going to turn pro. But I just kept getting better. And when I was an amateur, I'm a purple belt. So I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt. So I'm actually, yes, I'm very good on the ground. Very good. And I like to consider myself, I prefer to strike. So I consider myself a good striker too. Mm-hmm. But I struggled with that transition between striking and grappling, because people don't really teach a lot of wrestling when you're doing jiu-jitsu. So they teach the ground game. You always start grappling from your knees. Yep. So I really struggled with that in between. So as I was getting better, you weren't really seeing that in fights. And so after I turned pro and then lost 2 more really close fights, I was getting frustrated with these fights going to decision. Yeah. So
both of them went to decision. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them. And they were both really close decisions too. Both really close fights. And so I was just really frustrated. I didn't want to leave it in the hands of the judges. So I was kind of taking control of these fights. And I also switched gyms. My old gym had closed down. My coach retired. So I had joined a new gym, new fight camp, changed the way I was training. And it was really that transition. So I got comfortable taking people down. So I'm comfortable standing and I'm comfortable taking it to the ground. So it's just,
and the in-between, right? That in-between spot, that judo type stuff, you know, to get it to the ground, right? The wrestling, the takedowns, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's what I hear that a lot from different fighters too. You get comfortable. You could do the groundwork and you could do the stand-up work, but it's like that, the sweeps and the takedowns and the shooting, you know, getting to that point, getting through your head that if I drop, I'm not going to get kneed in the face. You know what I mean? Like, getting over that fear in your head.
And then also disguising things. I got a lot better too at my striking just with my new gym. So setting up your kicks, that was key in my last fight. My opponent didn't do that. That's why she got caught. Mm-hmm. And then also your takedowns is in the middle of a combo. It's seeing opportunities. And so I think I got really good at it. So my last 3 fights, I finished the first or the second round. So that was really neat to see that.
Yeah, I watched them. I was really impressed. I thought in preparation for any interview, I start really going through, a week or so or a few days, however much time I have, I start kind of combing through some information, get some, I basically stalk you for a little bit.
I stalk you a little bit too.
so then so I know who I'm talking to. So I know what questions to ask. And I know, if I just, like I said, I want to, make this a positive experience so you can get out there and basically, share who you are with the audience. Yeah. I mean, that's the point, but three wins. It seems like you figured something out because those first 2 decision losses, I mean, and I'll tell you, let me ask you this, because this is a little bit of a hard question. When you turn pro and then you lose your first 2 fights, what does that do to you? I mean,
it's just okay. So that third fight that I won, it was such an important fight. So yeah, losing my first 2 pro fights, I'm questioning, am I really good at this? Should I keep going? Should I call it quits? All of that's going through your mind. And so that next fight was critical to my future, in my career in mixed martial arts. So,
at least in your head, right? At least like for yourself, because I've seen people lose a string of fights in the beginning and then turn it around at some point. But at some point you have to turn it around. Yeah. And I think it screws you up psychologically as an athlete when you have this going on early in your pro career. I mean, you just turned pro and then this happens. And then, and now you're on this whirlwind where you're winning, which is, and you seem to have figured it out to some degree. I mean, everybody loses. I mean, you fight long enough, you lose, right? That's what happens. But, and that's like, how do you get through that first, that really initial phase? And then you're kind of like, oh, and you're questioning yourself. Yeah. So what did you have going into that third fight? What kind of pressure was there?
My dog's saying hi.
That's okay.
Him barking in the background. A lot of pressure. So that fight, So I've really gone through a process with the first 2 fights, really thinking about what went wrong, what went right, and everything just kind of came together. You just got to shut your brain off. And that's kind of, I mean, if you think about it, for me, I have to really meditate before fights. Mm-hmm. Some people have to get really pumped up but for me, I have to really meditate and shut the brain off, right? Once you walk in that cage, you're just fighting. Everything should feel comfortable. Everything should be natural. Nothing should be what you haven't drilled and trained for. And so I'm just walking in that cage, kind of shutting everything off my time.
Your dog wants to be on the show. That's okay. Like I said, I love dogs. So I have 2 of my own.
So winning that fight was really big for me. It was the confidence I needed for the next 2 fights. And when I finished the next one, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe it wasn't a fluke, And then when I finished the third one, I was
That's great. I love it. I love it.
Now you have to make a special appearance.
Yeah, Doberman, huh?
Yeah, Doberman. Yep. Yep. He's a little baby.
Yeah. He wants mommy's attention. That's what he wants. Yeah, he's like, Mommy, what are you talking to? What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So after that third win with the submission win, then I realized I belong in the sport. I'm actually good. Yeah. And I'm super stoked and can't wait for the next fight.
Yeah. Do you have something coming down the line? Do you have something planned, or are you just kind of waiting in a holding pattern right now?
In a holding pattern, which is unfortunate for amateur and pro fighters. We're constantly waiting for fights. I had a fight actually booked in Florida in April. I signed a contract. I was super excited to announce that. And then my opponent pulled out. Okay. She actually pulled out. I was supposed to fight Claudia Zamora. Okay. She pulled out and actually left to a different promotion. So then that all got scrapped. Invicta was changing owners. So that was all happening. So just kind of waiting for the right fit too.
Waiting for the next fight, waiting for the, and that's I think that's one of the hard parts next to weight cuts and next to weight cuts. It's sitting around going, okay, what's next? Who's coming next? How am I going to get the next fight? Especially now in a in the COVID atmosphere that we've had over the last couple of years, 18 months or so, it's been like hit or miss. I mean, it's been really hard because promotions have not been really operating the way they were. They're starting to come back now, which I think will be great. It'll start to open up, hopefully more fights for people so people can get in there and really prove themselves. And I love that. I love the fact that you said, when you were doing this, you're doing this to kind of say, okay, what do I got? How do you test yourself, right? Test yourself daily. I always say that. Test yourself. Go out and do something that is going to put you up. Test your character. Test your, can you accept a loss and come back from it? I think you've proven that. I think you could. Yeah. I mean, I think you've absolutely proven that. I mean, and now you're on a 3-win streak. You're just on a roll here and now it's just waiting. Are you waiting for, are you going back into 135, I think, right? 135.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. All of my pro fights have been at 135.
And that's a weight you're comfortable at. That's what you're going to kind of stick around at for now.
Yeah. We've talked about 125, but I don't think I can make it.
That's a rough cut.
Yeah. That would be too much. So I'm really comfortable at 135, just building up muscle. So making it a little harder of a cut to 35. Because I don't think that's gonna be a problem, but 25 is just too small.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you start going down 2 weight classes, it starts to get like, okay. And I've even seen people try to cut to 3 weight classes. I'm like, that's insane.
Wow. Yeah. That's insane. As an amateur, I just took whatever came my way. I fought 35, 45, and 55, and I fought at 160.
Really?
As an yeah. So I covered 3 weight classes there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I mean, like I said, it could be rough. I mean, every fighter I've ever spoken to says, the fights are fun. The fights are the good part. The weight cut sucks.
Sucks. Really bad. I'm very disciplined though. So I've never missed weight. I've always made it. For Invicta last year, I took that fight on 4 days notice. I mean, I was literally signing the contract and getting on the plane the next day. That was a big weight cut. I cut, from 148 to 36, 12 pounds of water. Yeah.
In 4 days, which is doable, but it sucks because you're not really eating. You're not eating.
Yeah. I got off the plane at 148. So it was like within a, I think I cut, I'm trying to think, at the beginning of that week, I was more than 148. So by the time I cut the water, I was 148. I was really stressed out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, that's the thing, because nobody wants to be that fighter that stands on that scale and doesn't make weight. Nobody wants to be that person, Yeah.
Well, we promised Invicta that I would make weight.
Yeah. So you promised Shannon Knapp and you said, hey, you don't want to let her.
Weight. Yeah, I was telling her, yes, I can make weight. Please give me
and you know what? And then you're just praying, right? Then you're just like, okay, let's get on the scale. Let's get in the sauna. Let's put the hot suits on. Let's, stop eating as much as I should. That
was the hardest one. That was the hardest weight cut. That was the hardest one for short notice. Yeah.
I mean, short notice fights are probably the toughest and then to do well in that fight after taking it on, to win the fight on a 4-day notice, doing a 4-day weight cut, and then going in and winning, with a I think a rear naked choke, right? Was that it? Yeah, rear naked choke. Yeah. So, I mean, that's impressive. I got to tell you, that's impressive. So that probably caught the eye, of a few people. So that's good. That's good. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, I think that's what got me the fight for LFA. People were saying that I was a major underdog in that fight and said I wasn't worthy of fighting Haley Cowan because it was an
strong words.
Exhibition fight on Invicta. So they were saying, "Oh, I'm 1-2." So that was even better to win that fight, beating her at 5-1.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And another guy I know, a fighter I know, did a weight cut in 7 days was fighting, got offered a fight for the, I think it was featherweight. No, it might've been lightweight, but cut 16 pounds in 6 days. And then won the title. He offered a title fight in 6 days notice and then won the title. That's James Gonzalez versus Pat Sabatini with a vicious, you should look that up on YouTube. It's a CFFC fight. Basically caught him in an arm bar. And I mean, I've never seen an arm bend that way. Oh my God. And then Pat's okay though. I mean, Pat came back and he's already fighting again. He's been fighting for a little while again, but 6 days notice, 16 pounds and winning a title. I mean, that's, like I said, and that's what it takes. You got to be able to do that stuff and actually make the weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a fighter,
and always be ready for those opportunities. That's a big, that would help me during COVID, just being ready for Invicta and then just being ready after LFA. But nothing came my way.
Well, I mean, but you're ready, right? So that's the thing. Because when an opportunity knocks, when an opportunity comes up, they'll call you. But if you you can't turn it down. If you turn it down, you're going to be like, okay, well, you're on a do not call list. I don't know if there is one, but I mean, you do that enough. If you say no enough, people are just like, they stop asking, so you got to basically always be ready, even if it's a few day notice fight and you got to struggle your butt off to make weight. Sit in a sauna for 4 days. I don't know. I mean, that's got to be terrible, but so what made you start MMA? I mean, you've been doing it a long time, obviously, but what made you start, training and all that stuff? What got you into it?
So you can kind of call it a early life crisis.
Okay. I think I've had a couple of those. I've always been sports oriented, loved sports in high school. But I went off to college, kind of got married up in a relationship, and that was my priority at the time. And going to school, I wish I had tried it while I was in school, but I didn't. So I finished my master's degree, came home, started working, and then that relationship ended. And I kind of realized, wow, what have I done for myself? Because I've always wanted to do what people expected of me. And I'm really glad I did college because I have the best job, really flexible. Yeah. I have an amazing what's your master's in, if you don't mind me asking?
So it's environmental science, but it's all focused on natural resource management.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the environment. I'm a big fan.
Awesome. I worked in fish and wildlife. And so I'm a biologist for a tribe, and I do a lot of fisheries projects. So I'm working in fisheries right now. I have a big construction project actually coming up in end of September that I'm gearing up for and applying for permits. And every year I'm implementing projects and contracting work. So it's awesome. So I love it. Sounds like
you love it. Sounds like you love it. That's awesome. It's important.
So after I finished, after the relationship ended, I finished my master's degree. I started thinking about, okay, what have I really done for myself? And so that's when I started dabbling in the mixed martial arts. Okay. But when I had no intentions of ever fighting, so it just kind of happened organically. I was consistently training, and my coach asked me if I wanted to fight one day, and I said yes, I'd love to.
Oh, there you go. You took the opportunity. It was right there. You took it. So, I mean, and what did you start with? What was your kind of like, was it striking, I guess, or was it, what's that?
It was striking all of the way until my third pro fight. Like I've literally, it's all been striking. I've only been switching it up in the last 3 fights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, but you have the purple belt also in jiu-jitsu, right? And, so you're getting yourself into a position where you're going to be an all around, you are an all around fighter, right? And you have to be. I don't think you can be, cause I've interviewed, Ken Shamrock and some of those guys from the old school. And I say old school with love, cause some of those fights were just like, holy crap. How do you fight for 50 minutes? I mean, just straight, no break. sitting there, rolling around on the ground, fighting for 50 minutes. But, those guys, back in those days, you had the wrestler versus the jujitsu guy or the striker versus the wrestler. But it was always that. Now you got to kind of be good at everything. You can't just be a one-dimensional fighter.
And that's what I realized too, as becoming a pro. These girls are just as tough as me, right? We're a pro for a reason. And when I'm hitting somebody as hard as I can hit and they're just durable and not going down, my last two, the two pro fights that I lost that were really close, those girls were just durable. They could take a punch. Yeah. I consider myself durable as well. And I just realized I need to win these fights and not let it go to decision. And I'm going to do whatever I can to do that. And so that's mixing up the fights. You got to keep your opponent guessing and not know what's coming next, and using all the tools in the toolbox. Use every tool that you have to win the fight. And that's what I realized, and getting comfortable with that.
Yeah. And being unpredictable, right? Don't let them calculate where it's coming from, hiding the kicks, hiding the takedowns, knowing how to do that. Is super important. What do you think separates you the most from other fighters? What do you think is your kind of like, what makes you who you are as opposed to other fighters?
I would have to say, because I got those losses out of the way, I had to really accept that, and not just accept it, but I've already gone through that process of not accepting failure, but not being afraid of failure, because that's already happened. That's done. It's gone. I've already dealt with that. Like you were saying earlier, some fighters can't deal with that, and I've dealt with that. So I think what separates me from other fighters is I'm going into fights now where that's not even all I think about is winning. That fear of failure is gone. Yeah. And it's all about winning and what I have to do to win that fight. It changes everything. It changes from being a defensive fighter to being offensive. Mm-hmm. It just changes everything, I think.
I'm a firm believer in you have to know how to lose to be able to win, right? To really be able to win. I think you have to lose. You have to know how to do it. I think, one of the things I'm very outspoken sometimes, maybe too much, but sometimes I think, that everybody wins thing that we have going on is not teaching our kids character growing up, because you get character from loss. You don't get character from winning. You know how to be a gracious winner by losing, right? You have to feel that to be able to know, okay, I won. I'm not going to be a jackass about it. Right. Right.
Just thinking of Ronda Rousey. I mean, she was phenomenal, but she never really came back after losing. No. I think if she had just kind of swallowed that pride and did what she needed to do to get better, I think she could have been a champion again. Yeah. But she just stopped.
She let it beat her. Unfortunately, I think that's what, and I think that's a perfect example. I mean, I'm not saying that she was raised that way. I don't know how Ronda Rousey was raised, but what then everybody wins kind of thing. But I do, she was the first kind of, one thing I'll say about her is she kind of paved the way for a lot of people in MMA. There's no doubt about it. But she had her certain moves. And once they figured out the combination, that's kind of what happened. Once the other fighters kind of figured out what they need to do to beat her, everybody knew it. The secret was out. And then, that last fight with Amanda Nunes, that was just like, I don't know. I just watched it again not that long ago. I don't even know why, because Ronda just didn't look like she should have been anywhere near that cage that night with Amanda, because Amanda just destroyed her.
He destroyed her. Yeah. Yeah. And Ronda never evolved after that. Well, I don't know. No one really got to see her fight again. Yeah.
Maybe, she's doing other things now. I see her playing video games and stuff all the time. That's what she does now. But no, nothing against. Sometimes, sometimes people just get to a point where it's like, okay, I had my time. Now I'm going to try some other things, you know? I mean,
yeah, that's true too. That is absolutely true. Yeah.
People get to that and they're just like, it isn't worth trying to, like, that last loss really just kind of beat me up. I don't want to do it anymore. You know, sometimes people do that. What's your biggest inspiration? What keeps you going? Who is it? A person? Is it, you know, what inspires you to be the fighter and the person you are today?
Oh, that's a hard question.
I have a lot of hard questions.
Okay. You know, I spent a large part of my life trying to be what I thought other people expected of me. So my motivation in life right now is trying to be happy, you know, and I think being happy comes with being true to yourself. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm constantly reminding myself of that. And as long as I'm true to myself, I will be happy. So
awesome. So did you? Okay.
No, I don't think so. My dog's talking to me.
Hey, they talk to me too. Sometimes they talk back. I mean, it's a whole thing with my dogs, but, who do you think would be a dream fight for you? Who would you like to fight? Like, is there somebody that you would like to say, this would be a great matchup, me and this person, and it would be just a fun fight to take on?
Of course, you always want to fight who you lost to. I have a lot of respect for Lisa Spangler. Mm-hmm. A lot of respect. She is tough. But so I'd love to do that again. Okay. Let's see. Dream fight would be in the UFC. So all the gals there lined up in the UFC.
Everybody in 135 at UFC.
Everybody right? At 135. There's not any particular person that jumps out at me. So
okay, all right. Yeah. No, it's like I said, it doesn't have to be. I just, you know, it's just one of those things where sometimes people have like, you know, I want to fight this one or I want to fight that one, and you know, I think it's a good platform to call that person out, kind of be like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what the promoter does if they see this, you know, you know, or the matchmakers. Let's see what they get going. You know, at the end of the day, when, you know, let's say you go through your fight career, what would you like people to know about you? What do you think your takeaway would be? What do you think people would, you know, you want to leave people with at the end of that?
I want to be a champion.
Okay. All right. In the UFC, obviously, right?
Yes, I would love to fight the UFC someday. So that is my ultimate goal. So if I can get to the UFC and win some fights in the UFC, that's how I want to be remembered, as a UFC fighter. I've never fought for a belt, so I'd love to fight for a belt before I get to the UFC and one of these other promotions like LFA or Invicta. That would be amazing. So that's how I want to be remembered, as a champion in the sport that I pursued for myself. This is all about me.
Well, you know, it's all these promotions that are out there kind of all lead to the UFC if you do well, right? And that's kind of where you end up eventually. If you know, as long as you do well, or you know, sometimes you just got to be a colorful fighter. You just got to be able to go out there and do some cool stuff, and then, you know, get noticed, and you could be in the door. So that's awesome though. A championship fight, either in Invicta or UFC. So you heard it here. So Shannon, Dana, listen over here at the Xtreme Lyfe podcast. You got a contender here. So let's do it. Yeah. So what is there anywhere people could follow you? I mean, what do you have a website? Do you have anything? Where can people get that shirt? That's a cool shirt.
Oh, message me.
Message you. All right.
Yeah. So I have an athlete page on Facebook that you can follow, Kelly Skittles Clayton. I'm also on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. My screen name's MMA _Skittles. So you can follow me there. Okay. And then I'm also on YouTube. So, which is again, Skittles MMA.
Okay, cool.
Well, Skittles MMA for that one. Yes.
All right. And you're with Iron Shin Management, right? I think
I am. Iron Shin. Yeah. Las Vegas is my management team. So on all of my social media sites, I have my gym contact and my manager. contact there. So reach out for fights.
Reach out. Let's get some fights going. Come on, let's do it. I'm excited. So I will definitely be watching the next fight. I thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else at all? Or
just want to thank my sponsors, Okanagan Gold. That's a big sponsor of mine, Women of Combat. Thank you for the continued support. I appreciate it. So those are the two big ones that I wanted to do a shout out for.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So everybody check out Kelly Skittles Clayton, on all the sites that she had mentioned and the management team. You reach out. If you have some fights, we'll see, we want to get you in the ring, in the cage or ring or wherever it is at this point, the squared circle, the octagon, the pentagon, who knows what the hell we're going to have next. But you know what? We want to get you out there, get you fighting again. Looking forward to seeing it. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And everybody follow Xtreme Lyfe at xtremelyfe.com and Facebook and the Twitter and the Instagram. We got it all, and on YouTube. So you can check this out this week. Kelly Skittles Clayton. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Be good.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.